Welcome to Cut Daisies and Unicorns, and this is another Trailer Tuesday. And we're really excited about the interview that's coming up on Thursday, as we are on every interview, because we get to learn something new about somebody else, maybe that you already knew, maybe that you had no idea about. And so today we're talking about our interview on Thursday, right, Steve?
We are. We're talking about our interview on Thursday, and I had a question that came to my mind right when we pushed record.
Wow.
How do we generate the energy and excitement for Cut Daisies and Unicorns while we're both as chill as whatever?
We are chill. Exactly.
I went down the YouTube rabbit hole, and all these people, they're like all bright lights and perky, and they're just all delightful and all that stuff. And I'm like, well, you know what? It's going to take a while for us to gain some followers because we're just like chill, relax. Can I read a book to you as you fall asleep?
AMSR.
Right? Oh my gosh. So yeah,
the sweet sounds of Cut Daisies and Unicorns
with the velvet voices and the foam wrapped microphones.
That's right. And you can hear every
Yeah. I'll give you 30 seconds ago to stop that. Yeah, so it's Trailer Tuesday, and we're really excited about the guests that we're going to have on the show this Thursday. Personal friend, mentor, guitar teacher, songwriter extraordinaire, Mr. James Bean from the 515. And what a delightful interview.
Right. Yeah, there was lots of things. I mean, I've seen James play.
Yep.
I mean, the guy is masterful.
Mm-hmm.
But he's also, I mean, you know, what a great guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's humble. Like, I mean, you wouldn't have been able to know how good he is on guitar, like
Right.
based on his, you know, his demeanor.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't brag. I mean, the greatest moments that came out in the interview was when he was talking about moments with other artists.
Right.
And being able to see them and shine in that, you know, like, yeah, so good stuff.
Yeah, I picked up on one of the things that he said that was really, really good was how, when it came to music, he likes the moments to be sacred.
Yeah.
And he even used, I love this about James, but I think he's rewriting the love language book. And he's like, yeah, playing music live, that's my love language. He goes, you guys know all about that book, right? You know, and stuff. And I'm like, but playing music live, is that a chapter?
Yeah.
But
And maybe if it's not, it should be.
Well, I mean, I'm a fan for figuring out what's really going on and just adding more chapters to a book I haven't written. You know.
Yeah, because for me, I mean, since I can't play an instrument, listening to live music is a love language.
It's true.
Yeah.
You share that with my daughter, Michaela. Yeah, she's really looking forward to the world opening up and being able to attend live concerts.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so another part that I noticed with him, I mean, when we talked to him, was the nature of mentorship, and even what can happen when you're speaking into the life of someone else. And he talked a lot about the positive aspects, but it just took me back to even the part where we should be aware of the things that we're saying to other people, especially as they're kind of growing, maturing, that the words that we speak to people sometimes are going to stick with them more than we know.
Yeah. Hey, Phil, do you think that one of your thoughts on that is that as our culture has moved to a place where people, depending on where you live, you drive your car into the garage, you walk into your home, the fence is 6 foot tall around the backyard, you're not really engaged with your neighbors, and there's a point of even though pre-pandemic, post-pandemic, there would be the opportunity that you could exchange with others. Do you think that in that, what moves to the back of our minds is this idea that we don't really take responsibility for our words and our actions?
Yeah, I think it's really easy to do that because even when you're, with the ability that we have now of being able to avoid humanity, then we're just like, well, I never see them, and then it becomes an excuse. Like, it doesn't matter then.
Right.
Because I hardly see people.
Yeah.
But are we trying to be able to find moments, take moments?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then being more aware of how you're speaking and what you're speaking.
So, like, one word would be awareness, the other one would be responsibility, and to recognize that, I mean, those aren't fun words.
No.
So, I mean, we're teasing about us being so chill and relaxed and, laid back on stuff like that. And then we drop the big heavy on, there's an accountability as humans that we have towards other humans that we need to consider.
Right.
And so to activate one another to move towards things that are brighter, when people take a look around at the world and all they have is a list of the negative things that are going on, then the escapism that we get caught up in is we're looking at these things that are horrible, and it moves into the excuse of not even being responsible ourselves as participants within the human race for what could be able to occur or what impact we can have, even though the world in its largeness and its expanse is really small. And our influence can be great. So I wonder if there's somebody listening today that would say, well, I don't have any influence, and your pushback would be?
Everybody has influence.
Everybody does have influence on someone.
Somebody.
And then what would you tell people that they should consider or do to observe or grow in awareness about their influence?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot then. So taking into account then, what are the things that people have told you, right? So you're taking that in, you're trying to filter through all of the things that have had an impact on you, both positive and negative. And sometimes even in those, the negative things, some reason kind of even stick out a little bit more. Like sometimes there's negative words that are spoken that are like, well, what am I going to do with that?
Yeah.
And it sticks in our head and it sticks in our life, and sometimes can lead us in a positive direction because something negative was spoken, but sometimes it also leads us to just be negative about ourselves. And, so I think about the psychological thing of, what is that? What am I trying to think of?
I think I know.
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
So it's when those things are spoken and then somebody else says something, I mean, what direction is headed? And I think it does a lot to our self-esteem. If people are speaking lots of positive things, I mean, like, this is what I'm seeing, this is what I'm feeling, from you, like, then you're like, wow, like, this is a possibility. I mean, I saw it with James.
Yeah. Yeah.
People spoke about his guitar playing even at a young age, and there's something there.
Yeah.
And even though he's like, he took it in a positive direction. I wonder, the things that happen especially when we're younger, is, do we harness the positive and then go in a positive? I mean, and how many times do we then also receive the negative and then take it in a negative direction? So So I always think about being able to filter that first, like so you're understanding your awareness of what was spoken, and then try to do something positive, and to think about the words that you're speaking. Is there something today that you can speak to somebody in a positive way?
Yeah.
And even that you're looking for it, look for it. Try to find something positive to speak to somebody today.
Yeah.
And see the effects that maybe you won't ever see it, but understanding that can have a positive effect on people's lives.
Well, the law of the harvest is that you reap what you sow. And the law of the harvest, I grew up on a farm in small town Michigan. Not only do you reap what you sow, you reap after you sow. So you can't head out to the field and look for sugar beets if you haven't planted sugar beet seed. The other thing about the law of the harvest is you reap more than you sow. And so this could be something that people could consider, in that, what do you find yourself in? I know me personally, the older I get, as I reflect, and I think that could be the bingo term from James's interview, is as I get older, like you could see that, he's getting closer to a birthday, he's reflecting on the last year.
Sure.
And he's a father, he's a husband, he's a professional musician, businessman, all these things that he brings to the table on this is my human experience. But I would move into, and you and I have talked about this a little bit, in that as we get older, some of the things that cloud our mind are the regrets of our lives. And one of the things that I've actually been actively pursuing is that instead of letting my mind play these loops of my regrets, then I divert my thought process to thinking about, what am I dreaming about? What will today hold that I could be an active participant in? I'm not sure. Have we talked about Dibs chairs?
We have not.
Dibs chairs. The Chicago culture and what's happening. So after the first snowstorm about 2 weeks ago, and we just keep getting more snow, and it's absolutely beautiful in the Chicagoland area right now. But I come around the corner to come to the studio, do some rental work on the studio, and like people have patio furniture sitting in spots. I'm like, dudes, it's when you're at work that I need to park here because I'm coming to work. What are you doing with this? We talked about it last night. I'm like, now I'm collecting different things that people use for dibs. So there's patio furniture. I've seen pallets. To me personally, it seems like that there's a lot of work to be able to pull pallets out into the space. So what happens is, as the plows go through these one-way, two-way streets, which I did figure out yesterday on Central Park, you can't go down a two-way street when there's only one lane plowed out.
Oh, yeah.
Because with all the dibs chairs, you can't even pull over into the side to let them go by you. So now you got to start picking one-way streets to be able to get to where I'm learning to navigate Chicago. But with dibs chairs, the whole thing with that is, then I saw a Dibs vacuum cleaner. It was a Dirt Devil, by the way, and laid out there. I mean, like all kinds of things. And so people are like, well, I did the work to clear this spot. I'm going to reserve this spot. And I'm like, yeah, that does not do me any good. But, again, on that tangent, just for the sake of, I bring a shovel, because what I want to do is, I'm like, you know what? If I can help somebody's dib spot, or like a parking spot that I dig out, be a place where they can pull in at night after a hard day's work, cool. I want to be a part of that. Have I regretted that? The only thing I've regretted is that I didn't plan on doing it earlier. But if there are listeners who are stuck emotionally in regret of all the things that they've failed at, this episode is going to be a great episode for them to listen and see how a man was inspired, has lived out life, and he feels good about being a dad, raising up another human being that is recognized as a good human being.
Yeah.
Being nice to others, and things like that. And so this is not a bunch of gobbledygook.
Yeah.
This is something where I think it's a good push for us to say to our listeners and people who are watching the podcast of take some time and consider what words can you plan to say that can bring a ripple of good into someone else's life.
Well, I think back to the whole idea of dibs is like, I worked for this and now I want to reserve it. Right. And so, but just, I mean, because you already had kind of, moved forward in that, is saying, so just think about mentally, right? You work through something, and usually the harder it is, the harder the substance or whatever the problem is going to be, the harder you're going to have to work. Do you want to take that the same way? Because usually when I've worked through something, what I really want to do is share that. And so sometimes I think with dibs, we're like, let me keep it to myself.
Oh, yeah.
And in life, I'd say, why would you want to keep that to yourself? Why wouldn't you want to help someone else who is maybe not even mentally there to work through situations that you're saying, hey, I think I could help you with my experience.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's it is a law. It's a part of the rules, even of, the recovery game, is like, once you've worked through this, why wouldn't you want to share it?
Yeah.
And that's I would say, a really great thing to be able to put in place in life, is saying, whether it's dibs out on the street and you saying, you know what, like, I don't mind using my shovel, even though it may not be, the funnest thing that you're going to do that day is cleaning out a spot, but you're saying somebody's going to be able to use this. It's not going to be me.
Oh, yeah, that happened from yesterday to today.
Yeah.
I literally drove around the block 5 times and was looking for a space that I could be able to move my vehicle, and because somebody wasn't paying attention to how close they pulled up, that totally wiped out a spot that I could be able to have. And if I drove a Fiat, I'd be able to sit in that spot, no problem at all. I mean, hey, first world problems here, folks.
Right.
But the reality is that when it comes into life with snow in Chicago, I'm not going to regret being a good neighbor and just making a move to be able to do that. Now, I'm not at the level. I have made a couple street friends, people who, when they're on the street, we talk and we chat, a little bit, say hi and stuff like that. But there could be people who are listening and like, yeah, but I don't live in Chicago and I don't have any problem with my, I have somebody else blow out the snow or, and all this other stuff. And then I just would have the question of, yeah, but who are you coming in contact with?
Right. And what part of humanity can we be sharing in?
Right.
It may not be a dib spot, you're right.
Yeah.
Other people may not have any problem with parking.
Yeah.
They're like, I've got my own garage, I've got my own whatever. Like,
Yeah.
all right, so put it into context then. Where is it that you can share in humanity that's going to be different?
And I think when people are like, I don't even have an idea of how I could do this, let me just run the gamut of what that could look like. I would say take time to self-reflect and see where you have great wealth. Mm-hmm. Maybe your joy quotient is really up there. And so sharing joy through speaking words that are joy-filled with others. A lot of times, a lot of people, not only are they lonely, they feel unheard and unseen.
Right.
So as a joyful person, you can be able to take these moments and be able to bring in that moment and speak out to a person of how the other person brings you joy. I actually, just a few moments ago, as we were taking break in between the interview and getting ready for this time here, we got into a rather in-depth conversation as the three of us sharing this space. Right. And you know what? I think that conversation, as I go through the rest of my day, will be a conversation of encouragement. And what I loved about it was we weren't afraid of being transparent.
Right.
And we were able to talk and share, together. And it was just all level in the transparency. So maybe you're a person that struggles with feeling alone. Then I would push you into the question of what things have you built into your life that have become the points of isolation or the walls of isolation that over the years that you've built up. Right. And you don't have to go out the front door and stand on a corner and yell at people to say, hey, I want to see you and I want to hear you. But what does it mean for you to have a kind word to the person who's checking out your groceries at the grocery store? Asking them, hey, how's your day going? Has it been busy? Carrying a conversation of even a word of gratitude. Thank you so much for being here so that I could be able to get groceries for my home. We don't understand how far, and it's really hard to share smiles when you're behind a mask.
Right.
But you sure can do it with your eyes. Mm-hmm. And just even the words that, are spoken, with kindness. And, the reality is I can go to the grocery store and get irritated really quickly. And why should I take out on the person who's checking the groceries through the line? Why should I take that frustration with the other patrons on that person? Mm-hmm. This one lady who bags my groceries at the Grand, she speaks broken English, but is always so gentle and kind to me. And I just make sure that I get to share and say, man, I hope you have a good evening, and try to smile with my eyes, right. And things like that. So, I think the other thing is a lot of times we wake up and go through our day. And then as we go through our day, we're not even being proactively intentional. And so this morning when I swung my legs over the bed, I just took a moment and I took a deep breath and was like, hey, God, thank you. Thank you for another day. P.S. I still hate mornings.
P.S.
P.S.
Phil and Steve.
Yeah. But I'm like, I still don't like mornings, God, but hey, can you give me eyes to see? Mm-hmm. And maybe you're here and you're like, I don't believe in God. Well, so at least whisper out loud and say, in this day, what will this day bring where I could have a ripple of encouragement to mm-hmm. someone else who's going through the human experience?
I think it's a perfect lesson for us to learn on Trailer Tuesday. Before we even listened to the interview, it's things that we were impacted with already. So.
Yeah. And so with that, we would love for you to be able to consider carving out some time for Thursday's episode with James Bean. Mm-hmm. And he's just a fun guy to listen to.
Right.
We're going to ask you to be a little patient with us as we continue to work out the Zoom technology with our current in-studio camera work and audio and recording. But you know what? If you're here with us right now and you're going to catch episode number whatever this is going to be, I would just say, hey, just stick with us. If you don't stub your toe on something good the first time, maybe the second or third time, And would also encourage you, if you are being encouraged by these conversations, peering into the heart of humanity, gosh, don't be afraid to share us on your social medias. Pass it along. Be able to tell other people about it. Make sure you jump into the YouTube and you subscribe, because really you're going to help change people's lives with that as we continue to grow the fan base on YouTube as well.
Yeah, so make sure you check us out on all the channels. Subscribe on the audio. Go to, as Steve said, the YouTube. Leave us some, words on our Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram. All of them are there. We make sure that we're easily accessible, even if you like email. cutdaisiesandunicorns@gmail.com. You can send us an email. Who knows? Maybe we'll even read their email on a podcast.
Oh, there you go. Well, we know what we're not reading. We're not reading any texts because we're not giving them our phone numbers.
Right.
All right. Yeah.
Because there's so many other ways to reach us.
There's so many other
ways.
Yep, that's true. And I don't know. As far as thinking about how this all goes together, I think all in all, if this is Tuesday and you made it to this Tuesday, when you're watching this, just understand, whatever's left of your day, there's going to be an opportunity. And even if that means grabbing your kids, throwing your arms around them and say, hey, I see the good in you. I see what's being developed in you. Or you turn and look to a spouse and maybe your last nerve was crushed just moments ago. Well, hey, take a moment, reflect, and see the things that you can be able to share to build up and to strengthen that partner of life.
Absolutely.
And if you're a person who's going through life and you don't have family close or partnership close, then I would just encourage you to start thinking about the people you do interact with and see how you could be able to, in a special way, just be able to be that voice, that word of encouragement, and just know that those ripples are going out and influencing others.
Absolutely. There's always going to be influence, and we're trying to be able to encourage it to be a positive one.
Yeah, absolutely. We're pro-humanity.
We're pro-humanity.
All right, that's all I got, brother.
Yep, me too. Have a great Tuesday, everybody, and be well.
Take care.